I wanted to share a couple things. This is gotta say community freeze because we're gonna be sharing some things here real quick before we get into some more of the kids stuff. This is uncovering the cover continued, and I want to say shout out to Nina Kelly for the next few, and then we got a couple more shout outs as well. Isn't this interesting though, Grandmaster Fry? Who's Fry? Huh? What?
Mm-hmm.
What's up, Tom?
Grandmaster.
Yeah,
Very
Grandmaster Fry.
interesting.
But this is Grandmaster Fry, Harry L. Fry. Harry L. Grandmaster Fry. It's like, huh, that's interesting. This is another one because we've been talking about Christchurch stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe it all kind of intertwines together. And this is from DougWilsonBelieves.com. Doug Wilson. Now, we've heard all the crazy ass shit that he's come out with before, some of the stuff we've even played. We even had a show where one of the survivors that left what she considers a cult, uh, described and everything. And you talk to people that are from there, and if they're intermingled with this organization, I mean, it's a lot of the same stories, and that's why I was even talking to Nina Kelly. Shout out to her again for this stuff. I was even talking to her a little bit ago, and I was like, yeah, it was kind of like when I was discussing even the incel theory from
Mm-hmm.
Queen Road Apartments, but maybe it wasn't from Queen Road. Maybe it was, people from this particular organization, whether it was one or a group. And, I kind of gave my reasons as to, where I think that would be plausible. And so when it comes to this stuff too, definitely. I mean, look at this. Look at this right here. Women who misinterpret scripture should be called C's.
Yeah,
You know
this
what I'm
kind of
saying?
stuff right here triggers the heck out of me, CJ. I mean, I might be on my soapbox before it's over, but this, I'm gonna hold back. I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities, but I'm gonna tell you, it triggers me
Oh, you
bad.
should some of the when we first started, because when we first started getting into the church about a year ago, I'm just gonna say organization. When we first started getting into the organization about a year ago, that's when we started like going through some of the sermons, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't want to sit there and especially like sermons and shit, right? I'm gonna watch that shit first. There's some stuff, a lot of stuff I like to leave fresh. But stuff like that, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna sit there and expect people to watch a half an hour or something, be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
So I
it
checked
ain't
it
God.
out,
That's what it ain't.
right? I checked it out before I started getting into it a year ago. I checked out some of the sermons and I was like, what the fuck is this shit? This is 2023. Like, you're sitting there and you're talking about women and schooling and women and their job occupations, women and like all of these restrictions, and it's like I'm sitting there watching an episode of How to Treat Your Damn Wife and from 1940. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what the hell is this shit, yo? Like, there's women. We're not saying that women only belong in the kitchen, but that's what we try and
Yeah,
And it's
it's a
like,
good thing I wasn't born back then. I'm just
it's
saying.
like, it's like, what kind of sermon is this shit?
Exactly.
So when it comes to this, I'm not fucking surprised. I'm not whatsoever. Like,
Even that does surprise me, and I am in a very misogynistic area. The South is traditionally kind of that way. We're getting more out of it now, but even this is even worse.
hmm and Nina Kelly, you're damn straight.
Less than 3,000 people, And the amount of money that goes through a certain church, dear Jesus,
Yeah, it's no
per
lie.
year, per
Mhm.
year. And so you're like, okay, if you took all of the paychecks of all of these 3,000 people, you still can come up with those funds. So what
Mhm.
the heck are you doing? How are you making money? I'll
Mm.
bet I know. I'm going to leave it at that.
All I'm gonna watch, just go to the video that we did. It's got to be like a couple weeks ago where there was a survivor that escaped, and when you hear that, because I talk about a lot of other stuff in that episode when it comes to talking to others too. So definitely check out that episode, and you'll see exactly what we're saying here. When it comes to this is something else that was interesting. Shout out to Nina Kelly again. Mark Rosendahl, guess whose dad that is a chaplain at the Christ Church.
This, mm, trying to hold my tongue, trying not to explode on your show, CJ.
Just hold on. So, Mark Rosendahl is chaplain at Christ Church in Moscow. You can see this. That's the family, the son, Nathaniel. Okay. Nathaniel, right? Who's Nathaniel? Nathaniel is Moscow PD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mark Rosendahl's Facebook. There's Nathaniel right there. When it comes to this church, right? We played this video a long time ago, and I want to say thank you to Nina Kelly for this. So, shout out to Nina Kelly. We're going to be getting to some other shout outs here in a few. Now, this is an episode that we played a long time ago when we started to get into it. Okay. And this discusses how the pastor there wants to make Moscow a Christian town. Now, they only have 10% of the population, okay, which roughly is about 2,000 people, okay? Now, when there's other stories that we've talked about on the show with others that have been part of churches that were 1,500 to 2,000 people, you saw how they were treated when they spoke out, not only social media wise, but also in present. Because the thing is, and this is what everybody has to understand what's different about this church or organization over here in Moscow, okay? When it comes to this organization, if anybody's familiar with the Amish, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Amish don't mingle. Well, they're not supposed to. They
Right.
they're not supposed to mingle with the outside public unless it's for business or whatever their religion states they can, right? And it's almost the same way, but this is way stricter. This is part of an organization that, so think how small Moscow and Pullman's bubble is. Think of how small Moscow's bubble is, just being only 20 to 30,000. Okay. Very small bubble. Because when you look above, these are the two largest towns, and it's a bunch of freaking blinking light, one stoplight towns for miles. I mean, for miles, okay? So you're talking, this is a bubble already. And when you're talking about that small bubble, that's only 20 to 30,000, and the organization is its own bubble within that bubble. They don't want you to do anything or have anything to do with outside of that bubble. That's why they have their own congregation, they have their own schools, they have their own everything. So that way they can keep that bubble the way that it is, because the last thing they want anybody to do, just like anybody else in Idaho, northern Idaho, the last thing they want anybody to do is for somebody else to come in with some radical ideas that's going to shake how they've done things for generations.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing goes with this organization. Same thing. So not only that small bubble of Moscow that you can compare to any 20 to 30,000 populated town in the United States.
Right.
That's within, that's a good distance away from another city. Then that church is its own bubble. So this is like literally, so they're secluded and they can, right, crime solver, they can control anything within the bubble. So when you listen to this and you see everything that we've been talking about when it comes to not only these episodes where we've discussed it, you mix it in with the incel theory, you mix it in with uncovering the cover, because you have to. This is all linked together. What's up, Floral Ticket 71? It's all linked together. Just like we thought, what's up, Sky? What's up, you? Just like we thought for the last year and a half that MPD was the only organization there that was the no report rank up, but then we start digging into stuff and it's like, no, it's not just MPD, it's the fire department, it's 911, it's the EMS, it's the fraternities, it's everything. And that's why they have such control, because if you're the first person that doesn't pat the other person on the back stands out like a sore thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And they get rid of your ass real quick. So when we're checking this out, just have that in your mind while you're hearing him saying what he's saying, because it's going to be even more powerful than if I would have just played this to you and you just heard what he said. Check it out.
A battle without bullets over the direction of a town.
I believe that what's happening in Moscow is a microcosm of what's happening all across the country that started here maybe 10 or 15 years earlier than what's happening across the country.
And that is?
Well, just a radical division. I don't think our nation has been this divided since 1859. It's divided and it's inflamed. And that whole process, I think, began to be visible here a decade or a decade and a half before it became radically visible in the nation as a whole.
Pastor Doug Wilson leads Christ Church in what he calls a Cold War civil war.
Our rights come to us from God and not from the government.
Fighting in, of all places, a college town. Moscow, home to University of Idaho and just 8 miles from Washington State University, exudes a live and let live vibe.
One of the interesting things about Moscow is how these two entities live side by side. And I mean literally. Right behind me, that's the offices of the Christ Church. And right next door is the headquarters for the local Democratic Party.
What's up, Jason?
From this former art house movie theater, Wilson leads his campaign to make Moscow a Christian town.
Idaho is a very red state. Moscow's
was
historically a very blue dot in this red state. And so consequently, the fact that we've done this has been disruptive in the minds of some, but the feasibility of...
yeah, they sued the police over that.
Evangelizing in Moscow
and won.
Had to do with the importance of the university and
Yeah.
the size of the town.
So in your version of a Christian town,
Yeah, we watched the whole demonstration that they were doing, and when they got arrested and all sorts of stuff, that is what they used to sue the police department. It was a total stage. It's for power.
Yeah.
It's for power. It's what it is.
I want to know who was paid.
It's what it is. It's for power, and they were more powerful than the PD at that particular time. It was crazy. Yeah.
would there be a place for non-believers?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Would there be a place for same-sex couples?
But you mean legally?
Yes.
You mean like marriage?
Mhm.
What's up, Yellow?
No marriage.
Hello.
But there'd be
Hey, Ellie.
Hi.
same-sex couples.
No marriage, even though it's the law of the land in the United States.
Just like Roe used to be, right? In
Wow.
my belief system, in our doctrinal stand, and what we believe the Bible teaches, homosexuality is not only a choice, but a sinful one. Yes.
It is a muscular, masculine-led vision of Christianity.
Big
Scripture
time.
tells the man to provide, protect, and love. Scripture tells the woman to honor, help, and submit.
Expounded on his show Man Rampant,
Men are going to be dominant no matter what you do.
and articulated in
What
his
the
blogs. This one saying marriage is a little kingdom and the husband is a little king.
A wife should be submissive to her husband, as Paul teaches in multiple places. Yes. So a wife should be submissive to her husband. But in the blog post that you just cited, I made a special point of saying that the woman exercises authority over the selection of the one that she's going to submit to.
So when you say
Ain't this
Yay,
the-
us.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
Wow.
submissive to their husband, does this mean why shouldn't they be?
Well, God created. We want to fit with the design.
Former Mayor Nancy Cheney says the
Design.
community has endured decades of Wilson's often incendiary ideas.
When some kind of
Right,
outrageous
Jason?
statements were made early on about Southern slavery as it was, as a mutually affectionate relationship between master and slave, or saying that members of our LGBTQ community, trans people, should be exiled or possibly stoned. That catches our attention.
Wilson says he was misunderstood, rebutting the many controversies on his website.
All you have to do is go watch some of the sermons, not only his, but the other ones, and you're just like, wow, this is nuts.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
deny the dude is, and trust me, he wants to take over Moscow.
Writing he does not believe in the death penalty for homosexual acts, or that slavery was a positive good.
That's a good
But the
one. Nina.
visible and
150, 150.
invisible lines being drawn here and elsewhere across
Yeah.
the country are setting off alarm bells for many faith leaders.
Do you consider Christ Church a church?
I don't.
Really?
I really don't.
What is it then?
I see it as a dominionist cult.
Reverend Dr. Elizabeth Stevens leads the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Palouse.
In the public square, I don't see them representing Christianity. I don't see them representing the values that I find in the Bible. I see them representing patriarchy. I see them fighting the culture war.
Stevens' position in that war is visible for all to see. A stained glass rainbow chalice. Wilson fights with the printed word. A prolific author, he's written dozens of books.
Writes a
all
lot of books.
distributed by his
Look at that.
own Canon Press. It publishes more than 1,000 different titles,
Money.
half of which are books and materials serving hundreds of thousands of homeschool and Christian
okay.
students nationwide. Wilson laughs off the cult accusation, but the former Navy man embraces culture warrior.
You can't have a naval warfare without ships, and you can't have tank warfare without tanks. And as I tell Christians all around the country, you can't have culture war unless you have a culture. Our tagline is all of Christ for all of life. So we want to be 7-day-a-week, 24-hour Christians in everything we do. And a distinctively Christian culture is forming here, and not reclusive and not cultic, but it's distinct.
Here in Moscow, Wilson and Christ Church have built a multi-million-dollar enterprise that includes a K-12 school, a publishing house,
See?
a college, and a streaming show.
See?
Pursuits that some worry will change the very character of this town.
You don't need to go anywhere, children. You just stay right here.
Yeah.
You just stay right here. You don't need to go to school over there. You don't need to go to college over there. You don't need to do your own streaming stuff. You know, you want to be hip. You don't have to go be hip. You can do it all right here over the watchful eye because if you step out of line, your ass gets reprimanded like a motherfucker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you see this kind of emotion and this kind of passion behind the messages, shit, that's no limit. I don't doubt anybody's story that, there's multiple stories where we've heard of people that have attended this organization and the kind of tactics and stuff that they do, and it makes you think of like Scientology shit.
Right?
Right.
Yes.
For
Like
real.
Scientology is
Yeah,
just,
I was also thinking that.
I don't know. They came out number 2.
yeah, I don't know how that
Number
happened.
2 safest college, right?
Okay.
And WSU's suspending all the frat stuff like all these other colleges are now because I think of the rituals. And
Yeah. I've heard
you-
about those rituals.
well, you know what's crazy is shout out Kelly Miller. She brought it up. She was like, I wonder if these. You guys know what Bohemian Grove is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Evil.
She was like, I wonder if they have rituals like, those one kind of rituals or whatever. And I instantly thought Bohemian Grove, and I wouldn't be surprised because Bohemian
either.
Grove's full of politics too, just like the
Mhm.
Frats are. And when I want to say shout out to Kelly Miller because I'm going to share something else with you here. Sigma Chi initiation ritual. Shout out Kelly Miller. Yeah, Bohemian Grove's crazy. This is the ritual. Ain't this some crazy shit? I'm not going to read it out loud, but it tells you who says what. Yeah, this is who says what. Each segment of the ceremony, it's like a script to a movie.
Oh my God.
The obligation, presentation, explanation, entering the lecture, the exemplification, the enrollment, the charge, the friendship circle, closing.
What does
Brothers,
the
we
friendship
partner here.
circle say?
Friendship
there-
circle. Consult to the new initiates at the chapter meeting closing. It is traditional to conduct the friendship circle, which is begun by the council, passing around the circle, commencing with the annotator, giving to each brother in turn the fraternal grip and saying, I seek true friendship. And the answer from each brother is, you find it here. As I proceed around the circle, I am followed closely by the annotator, whom the brothers shall follow consecutively, starting with the most recent initiate.
Oh.
I wouldn't be surprised, yo, if it was some fucking Bohemian Grove type shit.
See,
And
I
if
was
anybody,
I
Go
was
ahead.
asking CJ because I was wondering if there was in anywhere like the Freemasons do, to pledge, if there's any kind of pledge of loyalty to another member, even in legal situations, because that is a Freemasonry pledge. So I just wondered if there was anything close
I'm
to that
sure.
in here.
I'm sure it's all tied in. I'm sure it's all tied in. It's very political. So are these groups and organizations very political, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the grub truck group,
Ooh.
anybody that has been around for that long when I discussed it, I wouldn't be surprised if some of that and some of those higher ups that are the Sigma Chi buddies over there aren't at those ceremonies overseeing all of it either. Wouldn't
So-
that be some shit?
This is for new members, right? It's like
Yeah, this
initiation.
is yeah,
Okay.
this is the Sigma Chi initiation ritual, and it's got the opening, light of the seven lights, the prayer, entrance of the magister and candidates, the vouching, the enlightenment, the lighting of the seven candles,
That sounds crazy.
The three great aims, the appearance of Constantine. I mean, when you go through our episodes that we did on it, those are members live only. We kind of went into. I mean, I definitely suggest any of you guys, if you are a member, go just type in Sigma Chi in the show. We really got into the hierarchy and the positions and even the reenactment of how it became a fraternity and all sorts of stuff. I mean, you guys definitely want to go check it out because it'll go even deeper in this stuff that we're talking about right here. But I wanted to share that. Shout out Kay Miller for that. Now here's something else I want to say. Shout out to Katrina. This
Yeah,
was
I
a
heard it.
video that she had posted a little bit ago in the Discord Idaho4 info drop. And this was, if you guys look at the date, this was 9 days before the unaliving at 11:22. Okay. So keep that in mind as we watch this video.
WSU police sergeant who reportedly engaged in sexual activity while on duty resigned earlier this week. Police Sergeant Matt Kurt was facing disciplinary proceedings after allegedly engaging in inappropriate activity while on duty in Pullman and on the Pullman campus. He was placed on home assignment in March when those allegations were first brought to the university's attention. His resignation now comes 3 months after WSU Police Chief Bill Gardner, Assistant Chief Steve Hansen, and Captain Mike Larson all announced their retirements after being served notice in July pending disciplinary action as well.
Look at all. I mean, this was 9 days before the crime took place. Twin brothers. What have I been saying? Twin brothers.
Wow.
Twin brothers.
That's that place. It's like the portal to hell or something. It's like a portal. Just everybody evil. Just kind of.
This is when Don Daniels took over. Yeah, it's so shout out Katrina. Thank you for that.